In this module, Clinical Trials. This module explains how interventional clinical trials are designed, governed and monitored, and how safety information generated during a trial is collected, assessed and reported. It builds the practical skill of classifying an event as an adverse event, serious adverse reaction or SUSAR, and of calculating the expedited reporting clock that follows. Learning outcomes. Describe the purpose of trial phases I to IV and the design features of randomization, blinding, control, and endpoints. Explain the structure of ICH E6R3 and its 11 principles of good clinical practice. Distinguish the roles of sponsor, investigator, monitor, CRO, and research ethics committee, and the purpose of core trial documents. Apply the AE, SAE, SAR, and SUSAR definitions to a real case using reference safety information. Trials, safety, and the regulatory framework. Interventional trials generate the safety data that supports a marketing authorization, but they use selected populations, short exposure, and modest numbers. Rare, delayed, and interaction-driven harms often appear only after authorization, which is why post-marketing pharmacovigilance exists alongside trials. In the EU, Regulation EU No. 536/2014 applied from 31 January 2022 and is delivered through the Clinical Trials Information System. In the UK, the 2004 regulations, as amended by SI 2025-538, took full effect on 28 April 2026, overseen by the MHRA and HRA. Trial phases I to IV. Phase 1 is the first administration to humans, usually in small numbers, assessing safety, tolerability, and pharmacokinetics, and often dose escalation. Phase 2 explores efficacy and dose ranging in the target patient population and continues to build the safety profile. Phase 3 involves larger, usually randomized and controlled trials that provide the pivotal evidence of efficacy and safety for authorization. Phase 4 takes place after authorization, covering post-authorization safety and efficacy studies and use in wider populations. Design fundamentals, randomization, blinding, control. Randomization allocates participants to arms by chance, balancing known and unknown prognostic factors and removing selection bias from allocation. Allocation concealment keeps the upcoming assignment hidden from the person enrolling the participant, which is distinct from blinding after allocation. Blinding conceals treatment identity from participants, investigators, assessors, or analysts to reduce bias in reporting and assessment of outcomes. A control arm gives the comparison needed to attribute an effect to the treatment. It may be placebo, active comparator, or standard care. Endpoints and the limits of trial safety data. The primary endpoint is the pre-specified outcome the trial is powered to detect. Secondary and exploratory endpoints support but do not replace it. Surrogate endpoints such as a laboratory value stand in for a clinical outcome and must be justified because they can mislead. Safety endpoints are usually descriptive rather than powered, so absence of a statistically significant difference does not prove absence of risk. Trials exclude the populations most likely to be harmed in practice, such as older people, pregnancy, renal impairment, and heavy communication. IC E6R3, Structure and the 11 Principles. E6R3 is built as an overarching principles document plus annexes. Annex 1 replaced E6R2 and took effect in the EU from 23 July 2025. Annex 2, covering pragmatic and decentralized designs and real-world data sources, was adopted in June 2026 and becomes effective 15 January 2027. The 11 principles cover ethical conduct, informed consent, independent ethics review, scientific soundness, and qualified personnel. They also cover quality by design, proportionate processes, clear protocols, reliable results, documented roles, and investigational product standards. Roles: sponsor, investigator, monitor, CRO, REC. The sponsor takes responsibility for initiation, management and financing of the trial, including safety assessment and reporting to regulators. The investigator conducts the trial at a location, is responsible for participant care and medical decisions, and assesses causality of adverse events. The monitor verifies that the trial is conducted, recorded, and reported per protocol, GCP and applicable law, and reports findings to the sponsor. A contract research organization performs sponsor duties under a written contract, but the sponsor retains ultimate responsibility for the data and participants. Ethics review and informed consent. Independent ethics review before the trial starts is one of the 11 E6R3 principles, with periodic review through the life of the trial. Under the amended UK regulations, a research ethics committee reviewing a trial must have at least 5 members, including at least 1 lay member. Consent must be voluntary, informed and documented, given after enough clear information for a well-reasoned decision with the right to withdraw. Consent is a process, not a signature event. It is revisited when new safety information emerges or the protocol is modified. The protocol, the IB, and the CSR. The protocol defines the objectives, design, population, procedures, endpoints, statistics, and safety reporting rules, and is approved before the trial starts. Changes to the protocol are modifications under the amended UK regulations and generally require prior regulatory and ethics approval before implementation. The investigator's brochure compiles the non-clinical and clinical data on the investigational product relevant to its use in humans. The investigator's brochure contains the reference safety information, a clearly identified section listing expected serious adverse reactions with frequencies. The full references for this module are listed on the slide for your further reading. Safety definitions: AE, SAE, AR, SAR, SUSAR. Adverse event: any untoward medical occurrence in a participant given a medicinal product, whether or not it is considered related to the product. Serious adverse event: an adverse event that results in death, is life-threatening, requires or prolongs hospitalization, causes persistent disability, or is a congenital anomaly. Adverse reaction: an untoward response where there is a reasonable possibility of a causal relationship with the investigational medicinal product. Serious adverse reaction: an event that is both serious and has a suspected causal relationship with the investigational medicinal product. Worked example: applying the decision tree. Case: a 62-year-old in a double-blind phase DAO-3 trial of an oral anticoagulant is admitted on day 40 with acute upper gastrointestinal bleeding. Step 1. Is it an adverse event? Yes. It is an untoward medical occurrence in a participant given a medicinal product, regardless of cause. Step 2. Is it serious? Yes, it required inpatient hospitalization, so it is a serious adverse event and must be reported to the sponsor per protocol. Step 3. Is it related? The investigator judges a reasonable possibility of causal relationship with the investigational product, so it is a serious adverse reaction. Worked example: the 7-day and 15-day clocks. Day 0 is the date the sponsor first becomes aware of the minimum information, not the date the event occurred or the date the site recorded it. Scenario A: the bleed is serious but not life-threatening. Sponsor aware on 4th May, so the 15 calendar day deadline is 19 May. Scenario B: the participant is hypotensive and requires transfusion, so the investigator classifies it as life-threatening. The 7-day deadline is 11th May. In Scenario B, relevant follow-up information must be submitted within a further 8 days, giving a follow-up deadline of 19 May. Unblinding, the DSUR and data monitoring. In blinded trials, the sponsor should break the blind only for the individual participant concerned, so the wider trial remains blinded. Unblinding is unnecessary where the serious reaction is expected for all investigational products in the trial because it cannot be a SUSAR. The Development Safety Update Report is the annual aggregate safety review under ICH E2F, running from the development international birth date. The development international birth date is the sponsor's first authorization to run a trial in any country. The report follows within 60 days of the data lock point. What changed in the UK from 28 April 2026? SI 2025-538 amends the 2004 regulations and took full effect on 28 April 2026, described by the HRA as the largest UK trial reform in over 20 years. Terminology changes. Amendment becomes modification, subject becomes participant, and trial site becomes trial location. Compliance with ICH E6, good clinical practice, as amended from time to time, is now a legal requirement, so E6R3 applies directly. Mandatory duplicate reporting of SUSARs and annual safety reports to the Research Ethics Committee is removed. The MHRA and HRA exchange the information. That completes this module. The key takeaways and suggested further reading are summarized on the slide. The full references for this module are listed on the slide for your further reading.